So task 2 is to create these sets of objects, right? What we should have is we have a single corporate office object, and his instance variable is an array list of branch banking objects, right? We're going to put 4 of them in there, and then each of those branch banking objects have an instance variable that's an array list of clients, and we're going to put 4 of them in there, right? It's unique for each branch banking object. And so if this was a real system, the account manager would have a method or a way of verifying the person's ID, and then creating a client object and inserting it into this array list. But we're not going to do that. We're going to automatically create these objects, right? And so the way that we're going to do it is we're going to give the constructor of the corporate office the array list of branch banking objects, which will each have an array list of unique clients. So how do we do that? Well, you need to start here with a client class, right? And he needs to have a constructor, which takes in all the relevant information to initialize each of its instance variables, right? So we do that. Okay, great. And then we have our branch banking class. He needs a constructor. Yeah, this is not the most ideal way to do it, but this is the way that we're going to do it, just to fill up our program with objects. He's going to take in an array list of clients, right? And then he's going to set his instance variable to that array list of clients. Okay, so we need to have those two things in place. And then what we're going to do is here in the corporate office class, he's going to take in an array list of branch banking objects, and you're just going to go ahead and set the instance variable to that array list of branch banking objects. So then the constructor for the corporate office is going to take an array list of branch banking objects. That means we need to make that here so that we could pass it into the constructor of the corporate office. So how are we going to do that? Well, we're going to first of all going to create a new branch banking object here, right? That's empty. And I guess we'll go ahead and paste this in here. So what are we doing here? We are creating an array list of clients called Bank B. I guess we can call this like client list. And then we're going to add new clients to the client list with unique information, right? So by the end of this, we're going to have an array list of clients called client list that have these client objects in them, right? So there's 4 of them. And then when we get to the bottom here, we can just go ahead and give that array list to the branch banking constructor, because that's what the branch banking constructor is expecting, right? If we go ahead and look over here, he's expecting an array list of clients, right? So that's what we're giving to him. And yeah, so we're gonna repeat that process again and again and again 4 times, because if you remember here, we're gonna have 4 branch banking objects. Okay, so we're over here and we're gonna repeat that. We'll do that, and maybe we can call this client list 2. This one here, client list 1. And then we're going to create a new branch banking object. Call it bank 2. And we will send it client list 2. Right? So we're going to repeat this 4 times, because this is our first branch banking object. This is our second branch banking object. We're going to have 4 of them, right? But to get this set up so that we can give the corporate office a array list of branch banking objects, we need to create an array list of branch banking objects, right? And so let's go ahead and do that. We're going to go ahead and put this here. and we will call this guy branch banking. No, I'm sorry. We're going to make an array list of branch banking objects. So we'll say branch banking here and here. We'll call this bank list. And then every time we create a branch banking object right here, we'll add them to the list, right? So I guess right down here we could say bank list.add, and we will add bank 1. And then we will do the same thing with bank 2. And we will do the same thing with bank 3 and 4, but I don't have them here, right? But you would do that. And then we could just go ahead and pass the constructor the array list of banking objects. And that's about it, right? So then once you have that set up and you run the program, you will have all of these objects created, and your program will be ready to begin testing.